Audio. All right, here we go. That's already on. Get into the control room, set everything up. Hello, everyone who's either watching afterwards or is somehow already here. No, I'm not watching the State of the Union or quote unquote covering it. That is unbelievably cringe and boring for anyone to do. And there's a million, I don't know, more popular political streamers you could watch for that. We're going to be talking about the usual stuff. But in the meantime, while waiting for people to show up, check out this fancy new update that the bathymetric database got. So this is our alternative for the one that I use instead of Google Earth, as Google Earth constantly lags out the stream. This is NOAA's website for looking at bathymetry data, which is primarily meant for showing depth or elevation above or below sea level and showing extreme detail of the ocean floor for regions that we have extreme detail of where surveys have actually been conducted, which typically you'll find, as is the case down here, you'll find that a lot of these, the areas with the most detail are places where searches have been conducted for sunken vessels or aircraft. Like this super high res area here is where the search took place for Air France 447. Yeah, this is our alternative to Google Earth that does not cause the stream to lag out. And the heater just turned on, so I apologize if you hear that, but I'm not turning it off. Let me drink some water, maybe eat some Girl Scout cookies while we wait for people. Is anybody here? No. Okay. I am talking to myself. Yeah, while I'm still waiting, just check out how awesome this is. They made it even more detailed now. It's so awesome. Oh, it still got some blur areas there offshore Texas. Yeah, right around. Yeah, that's right around the offshore of the border between Mexico and the U.S. So that's like the one area where there's likely not been any high detail ocean floor surveys yet, because when doing offshore stuff for oil and gas and whatever, countries usually will tend to avoid the border region until like absolute last minute to avoid any issues. Yes, this is all jumbly, and it likely continues being jumbly off towards here. And my parents are at the moment here on this island called Cozumel. So it's just me and Bindi the cat for the time being. See, we got anybody? Okay, now there's people, theoretically. All right, so while we're close to Mexico anyways, and while waiting for more people to still arrive, we had some happy fun times going on down in Mexico. Let's draw a party hat. Have a little top there too. We had some fun times going on down there. So there there's different cartels that control various different like regions and territories. The most like violent one that does most of the stuff that you're used to hearing about the stereotypes for, like leaving decapitated bodies hanging from bridges and highway overpasses and stuff, or putting people, like live people, into vats of acid. That is the C CJNG cartel, are the super violent ones, and uh, their leader was executed. He was theoretically supposed to be captured, but Mexican forces ended up he engaged them in a firefight, so they ended up just shooting back and killing him. But I mean, he would have bribed his way out of prison anyways. So he's dead, and he's been there like one sole leader for something like 20 or 30 years. So he it wasn't like a job position that was constantly being traded about and replaced. So he's dead, and after he was taken out, the CJNG has gone on a angry temper tantrum all across the country. My cat is rolling over to show me her fluffy belly right now. We love you, Bindi. But they went on a rampage across the country, doing random things, setting stuff on fire, uh, trashing random cars. They like grabbed a bus and is this that is this okay? Yeah, this is still stuff. Doing random, throwing up random piles of tires and lighting them on fire. They stopped like buses on the middle of the highway and like got everybody out of the bus, and then would like tip the bus over and light the bus on fire in the middle of the highway to like stop traffic from being able to flow. Yeah, more burning buses, burning buses. They came to the airport in Jalisco, and so we're just like they didn't actually shoot people. They just kind of they kind of randomly did the terrorist thing, and were like firing their guns into the air just for the sake of terror causing terror stampedes. And once the National Guard and Mexican army showed up, they started getting into firefights. There have been casualties of unclarified numbers as of the moment on both sides, and Mexico resorted to its favorite anti-cartel tactic of Black Hawk minigun M134 or M137 sticking out of the side door of a Black Hawk. So if you watch the video yourself, you can hear. I only have it set to pick up my mic, but if you watch the video yourself, you can hear the actual M137 audio. But they like literally all over the country. They've been starting stuff and then getting engaged by the Mexican National Guard. I'm still waiting for like clearer numbers on precisely what happened or precisely how everything has gone. But that's been going on for a couple days now. All right, we're in for a light night. All right, let's see. Since Iran is the other thing that's in the title, maybe see if more people will show up with a little bit of time. I guess we'll touch on some of the Russia-Ukraine stuff. So, while refineries and oil depots were continually getting struck by Ukraine, they had not touched. They had not touched the actual oil pipeline and pumping system network in a while. As within any country, there's a network like spiderweb, etc., of oil pipelines. And across that network, there will be different pumping stations, like, for example, say here, as pressure alone will not continue to truly drive oil down thousands of miles of pipeline once it gets that long. You do need actual pumping stations and etc. And heating, to, especially in Russia, to make sure it doesn't start getting too cold and nothing starts settling out inside of it. They hadn't, Ukraine hadn't touched the pipeline and pumping system in a while, but they just 2 days ago struck one of the major pumping stations. Where's the first one or the first post about it? That is not it. This is it, I think. If there's any further, no. Okay. So yeah, first it was just these, not too clear of imagery. Then we got a better one. So big boom. I mean, this dude's dash cam or lady's dash cam is like a couple miles away. I did not right click. Why are you saying I right clicked? We got some actual video of it. Billowing and billowing. That is some massive Hawaiian fire deity summoning stuff. And then not as much billowing fire, but smoke still going. That was yesterday. Is that? No, that's from past. Let's see. Do we have anything else? That's through trees from like 10 miles away. Are you gonna look at the why there's a giant burning oil pipeline pumping station? Why are you literally just filming an empty playground? Make decisions that make sense. That is. Oh, okay. You can see the long trail of smoke on the horizon through the buildings, but it seems like that's just someone recording the air raid alarm. Yeah, and then the fire ended up picking up uh, a bit later and started another billowing phase. More billowing. This one's from closer up. And I think that's okay, that's the end of those. But yeah, that's one. That was in Tatarstan near Kazan. That's one of the major nodes along the pipeline system. There's obviously more, so that's not going to cause it to immediately like shut down. If this is the first one in the start of a new campaign to start striking like all of the interconnecting joints and the pumping stations, then that would eventually stack up to something, but we'll have to wait and see whether that's what is actually the intention. Ugh. All right. Eight. Well, I guess eight's going to just have to be good enough. So, the hour is potentially drawing near. So already have the Abe Lincoln Strike Group super carrier loaded with dozens of F-18s and F-35s, along with in total, according to the what was publicly disclosed, at least, there's it looks like either 9 or 10 Harley Burke destroyers, DDGs, and it looks like, to my surprise, 3 Ticonderoga missile cruisers, and then the forward group is in the Eastern Mediterranean. There, it looks like it was the intention that they're going to provide extra in-air interception air cover for Israel if Iran fires like retaliatory barrages towards Israel. Bindi, Bindi, stop it. Hold on a second. I have to stop my cat. Bindi. Okay, sorry about that. She's upset that you guys are on the receiving end of my attention instead of her. She was ignoring me all day up until now, but now that I'm giving attention to someone who isn't her, now she wants my attention. So she can wait like 15 or 20 minutes. But you have the Ford group, which along with the Ford, that includes 3 or 4 destroyers, a missile cruiser, plus a few others that were tagging along from the offshore Venezuela ensemble. And then getting flown in over the past few weeks, we've had now a total of around 40 on land. This isn't including what's on the carriers. We have a total of 40 plus, put a little up mark, F-35s. We have around 40 uh, of each F-16s and 15s. More 16s were just flown in overnight, even just last night. We have 12, or sorry, 11. One of them had some issues. We have 11 F-22s as of the moment. Another 6 are inbound as we speak. So that will bring the total up to 17. We also, although they aren't that likely to be used, we do have the 12 A-10s, and there are over 100, or there might be less now because some of them were flown back to the U.S. mainland, but there were around or over 100 in-air refueling tankers. There's also roughly a dozen A/EWACs and upwards of 20 plus various radar suppression, Growler aircraft, etc. And there are also an unknown number of B-52s. Now down at Diego Garcia, they were flown in at some point, not last week, but the week before last week. And now, just 2 nights ago, in one of the final signs that the hour is likely almost upon us, number of in-air refueling tankers took off from Kansas and loitered around, circled around over Missouri, near, I forgot the actual location of it, but near Whitman Airfield, which is where the B-2 stealth bombers are, and they loitered around there for a little bit, long enough for a number of B-2s to take off and start following them. The B-2s, of course, would not show up on the radar and don't have transponders that they would turn on to make themselves like forcibly visible. But so that was the hint or the indicator that those were getting sent out. As the tankers came up, they loitered over the B-2 stealth bomber's main base, and then started heading down in a ferrying chain and got out over the Atlantic, and then disappeared from all knowledge. So the B2s are somewhere. Potentially went the long, or actually both ways are kind of the long way. Although no, wait, over Africa is a bit shorter. Uh, but likely went down to Diego Garcia down there as well. So that's kind of like the final green light indicator, along with also a whole bunch of huge wave of like random news articles from all of the like large mainstream news agencies and news publications that have uh, semi-direct ties to the government, and also swarms of blue checkmark tweets from large accounts, all effectively parodying the same paraphrased message about how we're actually probably now just going to, it's whatever, toss our hands up and actually not do anything. So similar stuff happened before the all the stuff that went down in June. But those were the additional developments that have now stacked. Plus, it will now be after or post State of the Union and post what was the other thing, Olympic closing ceremony. I don't it wouldn't really have mattered like public opinion wise because uh well, since everyone was putting the thing out that like it was in deliberately being set up to be at a date after the Olympics were over and after the State of the Union address because the military doesn't want like Trump's ego to be too damaged, but it wouldn't really matter. Everyone kind of already hates him anyways. And if the elected president were really directly in control of military decisions, Trump isn't the kind of person who would really care to be interrupting something. But we are likely right on the threshold of it. This coming weekend is looking the most likely, which is uh, interesting timing because my uncle is having a heart surgery up in West Virginia, and my mother's going up to stay with him for a couple weeks afterwards because after getting your heart cut open, you're not really supposed to move around all that much for at least the first week. So she's going to have to do everything for him. So we're going to be driving up there because, and I agree with my dad, he doesn't fully trust that my mom would uh, be able to make it up there in one go by herself. So I have to go with her. And once up there, she'll put me at the airport and I will fly back down here the next day. The first time in over 6 years that I will finally get to be off the ground again. But so from like early morning Saturday until Sunday evening, I'm effectively going to be outside of any form of internet connection. So I will be in a internet blackout uh, while the initial waves of everything are potentially going on. So just forewarning, if it does start this coming weekend, uh, don't be surprised and don't complain about me not suddenly jumping on to like stream about it because I'm literally going to be gone and I'm not. My uncle doesn't have internet. Actually, a lot of people in his area of like Nowhereburg, West Virginia, don't really have internet either. So I physically won't even have the capability. If it starts Friday night, I'll get to see some of the like initial stuff of it. Uh, if it starts Saturday night, I won't find out until I fly back down here and get reconnected. But without an internet connection, I'll at least have like a roughly 24-hour period, including the car drive up there, where I will have no means of access to X, for example, or anything else. I'll have no means of like no excuses of distraction or procrastination. So I'll actually have like a 24-hour period where I'll be circumstantially forced to actually get some writing done. Let's see, did we get anybody? Here we go. Let's see. This, yes, I already said this weekend is looking like the most likely. Again, the unspoken deployment of the B2s was kind of sort of the final green light indicator. Uh, no one, no one from the EU is joining like directly. The actual attacking, the actual bombing and strikes within Iran is going to be all U.S. and Israel. Uh, the UK and France have positioned some aircraft in locales nearby. Uh, that's close enough to Djibouti. Uh, they will be primarily, they're primarily just going to be doing in-air fighter jet to missile interceptions of stuff. If anything, the UK aircraft are at Cyprus, obviously, to protect Israel, but the French aircraft will most likely be doing stuff to intercept anything that is potentially sent towards the particular bases that they are at, as there's also US forces at those bases, so those would be on Iran's target list for any waves of ballistic missiles. But a lot of in-air interception is also going to be done by the Jordanian Air Force and Saudi Air Force, both of whom insisted that they're not going to do anything, but they have said that every time before and have done stuff. The new Syrian government probably would, but it doesn't really have the capability or an air force or any form of air defense network at the moment. And Iraq might do some in-air air defense too. Kuwait doesn't have a real military. Qatar doesn't have a real military. The UAE will probably do in-air interceptions. If it looks like a lot is specifically being sent in their direction, and also if it looks like it's going to get through the air defense system network that we've already put into place. That was that was what was being carried over there by the hundreds of C-17 and C-5 flights over the past few weeks. So UAE will probably intercept stuff if Iran fires stuff at any of the bases on their territory. But the UAE is the only other one who has like a real military and real air force, however small. Kuwait doesn't have one. Qatar doesn't really have one. They have a few cargo jets, but that's about it. And Bahrain is has next to nothing. There's like there's a couple 100,000 actual Bahrainis, and the other million people on the island are uh, imported near slave labor from Pakistan and India. But the AD web, the AD shield network, plus in-air interceptions and stuff will likely be able to counteract most of anything if Iran is able to get off like a massive missile wave in retaliation initially. Uh, rate the rate of penetration seen in the past when they did like their 300 plus missile waves was between 10 and 30%. It varied based on the density of air defense layers in any particular area. Uh, and their accuracy was pretty decent, but it was still off. It wasn't still like on modern par. Like for example, Russian munition accuracy has a wide range of variability, like anywhere from can constantly was landing anywhere from 45 meters off to like over a kilometer off. Uh, Iranian Iranian precision munitions have shown decent levels of accuracy, just not like fully zeroed in. But they frequently were hitting usually within as opposed to like 45 meters out, they were typically heading like within 45 meters in, like within range of whatever was assumed to be the specific target. The biggest economic danger, really, because again, they can't actually shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They don't have a real navy. The navy they do have, the ships they do have, are effectively meaningless. And if they like tried, like people have literally put up the brain dead idea that they're going to lay a mine curtain across it as if we're just gonna like sit there and watch for days upon days, watching a very obvious mine layer laying maritime mines. No, that they start doing that will just destroy the ships immediately. The biggest like oil and gas risk is, as proven in the past, actually probably from the Houthis if they decide to do anything, because they have a lot of smaller, really low flying, cheaper stuff that they have gotten hits on Saudi oil and gas infrastructure with in the past. So they're where the source of like the most likely oil and gas damage risk is from. On Iran's part, because of the density of the various layers of air defense, I would expect they're probably on whatever waves they are able to fire off. I really doubt that they would like spread it out across multiple different nations and multiple different targets. It would make a lot more sense for them to like heavily concentrate on like really specific targeting to try to like throw as much through one point of breach as possible. And they almost certainly are going to uh, do their stated objective. They said, which was they're going to explicitly target the more concentrated military bases to try to inflict as much material damage and potential casualties as possible, along with lobbing stuff at Israel because, for one, they wouldn't pass up the chance to, and two, Israel is going to be one of the one of the two major participants in this. So that's how everything looks set up now. And let me think. Is there anything else having to do with anything else? I'm thinking there were a few random developments elsewhere in the world, not having to do with this, that I did want to potentially bring up, but I'm having difficulty remembering what they were. See if we get anybody else. Where'd my water go? There it is. Still you guys. And yeah, it looks like we kind of just hung around 12. Darn. I do miss those random few streams back at the start of the month where for some reason there were like constantly 50 people, as the ad revenue from those were nice, but I have no idea where like 50 plus people were constantly coming from. But everyone would likely be watching the stupid speech tonight anyways, or in reality, since it still hasn't started yet, uh, everyone would just be watching their favorite political commentators uh, free speech commentary. The only thing I could think of that I might have been forgetting was there was a new oil field activated offshore of Angola that is boosting them up by 60,000 barrels a day. So another little bit of time handed over to them to clean on to their uh, to clean on to their above 1 million barrel per day numbers before they eventually slip below those. Still feel like there's something else that I wanted to mention that I'm forgetting though. Let me scroll through bookmarks here. Uh, Almost all Russia Ukraine stuff and Iran stuff. I don't. Oh, yeah, embassies yesterday around the region started evacuating their staff and personnel. Oh yeah, on ground. I guess that was like the one other thing is the directions have reversed. So after Russia had done that uh, arm reaching out there, uh, attempting one half of an encirclement movement over the last half of 2025. 6 months of work was collapsed in about a week of fighting. And since then, the slow crawl that Russia has been making for the last 2 years or so has, over the past few weeks, begun reversing direction. And it's now Ukraine who's beginning to push the line a bit up. Can we get any closer? Yeah, right around there. So it's not a huge like portion. I'm not claiming it's a huge portion, but like I literally say, it's the slow crawl has reversed directions. Uh, let's see. Is That's the Mexico stuff. Is whatever I think I'm forgetting in here somewhere? I know it was in like the last 2 days or so. Oh, yeah, that was it. Okay, not something bookmarked, but I do remember. So a lot of a lot of African nations did release the results of like compiled studies with retroactive data corrections now, as a lot of them, the UN runs with algorithms and assumptions, but a lot of third world or lower income countries, especially that can't afford to constantly be doing hyper data checks, tend to also run a lot with estimates and generic projections that they'll correct every like 3 years or so. Sometimes only every five. It depends. A lot of African nations released retroactive data corrections now based on new thorough checks on everything. And to the surprise of no one, as has repeatedly been the case, their actual likely birth rates or fertility rate numbers have turned out to be, let me draw an example, have turned out to be lower and have declined more than was initially expected. Most organizations had finally corrected their like assumptions. Like you've probably seen most African countries were just drawn as like having a generically flat line across like 5 or 6 children per woman. Recently, a lot of corrections were made, and we realized they have been going down, but basically kind of just drew linear lines from like 6 down to 4 over the course of 25 years. Now, a lot of new corrections have been revised and have shown that by the late 2010s and into the 2020s, they started tipping down faster. And those like South Africa, who had been kind of stable, declining very slowly, a bit above 2, have actually declined a bit more and picked up speed a little bit more than it was initially thought. So the social introduction of social media, brain destruction, eroding of human ability to interact with each other, and thus making couples and thus children far less likely, has gotten into Africa as well. No one is escaping, no one is immune. So South Africa had, since 2015, seemed like it was really slowly going down from 2.2 down to like a flat 2, and it was still believed to be at like 2.09. However, now they finally actually looked at their numbers and gave us the results of that. South Africa specifically is actually down at 1.7. And I'm not going to list off everybody's numbers here. I mean, it's a new year, so I was going to have to go correct the graphs anyways. But, and there's my cue to self plug. So, for anybody who is new, go to any video I've made in like the last 2 years, go under to the description underneath the PayPal and Patreon links. There is a free to access Google Drive here that has folders full of all kinds of different graphs that are free to access. Started making this because every website is starting to put even basic data behind paywalls. So here you can find stuff not behind paywalls. It is completely free to access and will remain so. Any PayPal, Patreon, or YouTube super chat, whatever stuff does go towards the time spent maintaining this, obviously. But here, for example, you have the fertility rate graphs, and I'm going to have to update these. We got population and fertility rate graphs. We got all the different oil stuff, production levels, shale versus conventional, oil demand levels, export ratios, natural gas data, mining minerals, electricity, economic stuff. Started making coal graphs, CO2 emissions graphs. We got everything. What was the oh yeah, they just obviously they don't look nice like a lot of official stuff would, like stuff you get from, I don't know, Financial Times or Bloomberg or whatever, because all I have is free to use stuff because I can't really afford to be using anything else. and I'm not constantly paying a endless, relentless subscription to like better softwares. Once you remove the option to just buy something for $30 and own it forever, I was out. But that's all there as always, and I'll continue updating those. Let's see. Nothing else from anybody, and yeah, we hit the peak of interest anyways, so now everybody's tumbling off. If you showed up late, you can just scroll back and see all the stuff you missed on the timeline. But unless anything else comes up from anyone that requires a response from me, then that's going to be it. And I'm going to head off and make some chicken and peek around to see where my cat snuck off to. Oh, there she is. Hiding just out of sight. All right, doesn't look like anything else is coming from anybody. So 10 seconds. And all right, that's it. Thank you, everybody who showed up, and I will see you around next time. And the oil demand levels monthly update video should be up tonight or tomorrow.